Hello, welcome to another video, and today I'm going to be practicing my alcohol markers. So I wanted to do this because I'm not very good at alcohol markers. The colors I picked were PB9, CG9, and PB7, so like two blues and a gray. I decided to pick 3 colors randomly because I wanted to practice using different colors together, and I also wanted to practice using alcohol-based markers, so they're all going to be on this cardstock. So that's what I decided to do. The first one, I really wanted to draw that. There was this picture that I drew in the last video that was based on a song, and it had a glass with liquid pouring out, and I wanted to do that again, but with water instead of whatever it was. So I used the blues to kind of like blend out and make like this water thing. I'm not super good at that type of thing, like blending with alcohol markers, which is why I'm trying, but we're doing our best. Since there wasn't very many, I know like the basics of how to blend, and the colors were pretty similar. In fact, I think they're a little too similar, so it's really hard to see that they're like all different colors and stuff, but I did my best. It honestly kind of looked like hair, which was kind of funny because I'm usually terrible at drawing hair. But I don't think it looked bad. The one thing that I would probably change about the picture is I probably would have like figured out the amount of liquid that would actually fit in the glass and make that amount be pouring out, because it feels like there's a lot of water pouring out of the glass. But it's fine. I wasn't sure how to use the gray, so at first I was like, I'm gonna outline the whole thing and see how it looks, because it felt like the water was just in space. And then I was like, I can make the glass this gray color because it's like dark glass. So that's what I ended up doing. This one, it's not my favorite. My favorite's the second one that I do, but I do think this one turned out the best. Not the best, but like second best. We'll put it that way, the second best. So the second one that I did, I got 2 greens and a red. It was green 2, red 1, and green yellow 3. So I decided to draw flowers, so like 2 red flowers with green stems. I ended up picking one other color because otherwise the flowers, they would just be this big lump, because you kind of need to define the shapes, but I'll get into that later. So I started out with sketching my composition, so where each flower was gonna be, and I wanted to play with different angles, so like the angles that the flowers were gonna be at. My cat decided to come in and mess with me. She'd been messing with me all day. It was kind of annoying, but I love her, so it's okay. So I sketched it out on the cardstock. That's what it is. That's what it's called. So I was being very careful about the placement. I wanted it to look good, obviously. Like I said, I'm not good with alcohol markers, but like usually when people say that, I feel like their art usually like turns out really, really good, and it's like you can't even tell that they're like aren't proficient in it. It makes me really sad because I'm just kind of just terrible, and you can tell. But we don't compare ourselves to other people, so it's fine, you know. So I started out with outlining the flowers in the red that I got. I had a reference up to know like what I was drawing, so like I had references for the type of flowers I was in, and then my cat decided to come in, and she's so cute. You should look at her. She's adorable. I love her. She's somewhere in here as I'm recording, I'm sure. Anyway, I went on with the leaves and the stems, and I ended up So I used the darker one as more of a shade, and then I also used it as like those under leaf things that come like under the flower. I don't really know what, I mean, they're just leaves, right? That's what they're called. I would assume so. So I used that, and then I used it to define the shapes, and then my cat came in again because she's cute. And then I added some extra leaves in there to help with the composition, and this is where I decided I needed another color for those flowers. And so I went in and I started color swatching, and I decided on, it's literally like one off. I can't remember what it was, but it was like red 2 or something. And I used that to just color it in. And I probably should have done that first, since it wasn't the color that I chose. I didn't. Because the lines were like blending into the lighter color, the darker color, which makes sense. Probably should have predicted that, but I didn't. But it's okay, because it still turned out pretty good for one of my first alcohol-based drawings. The next one is my least favorite, but I still think it turned out pretty cool. I got yellow, red 1, green, yellow 5, and green 1. So it's like a yellow gold color. I interpreted it as gold, and then a light green and a dark green again. And I was gonna do yellow flowers, but then I was like, I just drew flowers. I don't want to draw flowers again, because I'm recording these all in like one right after the other, because I was on a roll and I wanted to. And so I was like, I'm not gonna do that again. So I was like, green and gold look really pretty together, like in like flowing together. So I was like, I'm gonna do something a little bit more abstract. So I just started sketching out different lines and stuff. I decided to put a flower in there just so it'd make it a little bit cooler. But everything was gold and yellow lines going through, and I made it thicker and I made it thinner at some points just to add a little bit more visual interest. This one was definitely, like I said, it's my least favorite, but I do think it still turned out pretty cool. I think if I had like done a background color of like black or dark green, or like a gold, or just something other than white that went cohesively with the colors, then I think it would have turned out a lot better. But we work with what we have, even though I added a color in the last picture. I feel like that if I added a color in this one, it would have been way too overwhelming, and it would have been like I'd have to use one of the colors that I actually had, but because it would be the whole background color. Also, I'm terrified of running out of ink before I get enough drawings out of them, and that would be super sad. So I didn't, because these are expensive. So that's what I did, and then I was done. I added my name at the bottom, even though no one else is really gonna see it. It's gonna live in my box. Anyway, like, subscribe, have a nice day.